Have you ever looked around and thought, how did I get here? Any minute now, they're going to figure out that I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't belong here. I just got lucky. That voice in your head, the one that doubts every achievement, minimizes your success, and constantly fears being found out, that's imposter syndrome. And if you have ADHD, especially if you are diagnosed later in life, that voice might feel louder and more persistent than it does for others. My name is Sara Kelly, and I'm an ADHD coach for late diagnosed high achieving women. And in this video, we're diving into why imposter syndrome shows up so strongly for ADHDers, how it messes with your confidence and motivation, and what you can start doing to quiet that voice and trust your own success. Let's start with what imposter syndrome actually feels like, because it's more than just occasional self-doubt. It's the constant second guessing. It's the rereading an email 5 times before sending it. It's holding back an idea in a meeting because you're afraid it sounds dumb. It's brushing off praise with, "Oh, it was nothing." One of my clients, we'll call her Diane. She works in the medical field. She's smart, deeply empathetic, and her patients love her. But she told me, every time I get a compliment, I think they don't know the real me. She made it through university and has been in her field for more than a decade, but she still feels like a fraud. So where does this come from? For women with ADHD, imposter syndrome is often rooted in years of masking, compensating, and trying to keep up in systems that weren't built for our brains. You may have heard things like, you're not living up to your potential, or you're too sensitive, or you need to try harder. Even if you were achieving, you probably felt like you were doing it the hard way, staying up late, over preparing, working 10 times harder to meet the same deadline. And because it took so much invisible effort, success didn't feel earned. It felt like a fluke. Now, layer in ADHD symptoms that undermine confidence, forgetting details, procrastinating until the last minute, overthinking small mistakes, struggling to follow through. These experiences create a gap between how people see you, capable and put together, and how you experience yourself, chaotic, disorganized, barely hanging on. That gap, that's the perfect breeding ground for imposter syndrome. And here's the kicker. ADHD affects the brain's reward system and working memory. So what does this mean? You don't always remember what you've accomplished. You don't get that dopamine hit from checking things off. You struggle to internalize success. So even when you do something well, it doesn't stick. You might feel relief that it's done, but not pride that you did it. There's also emotional dysregulation. If your brain swings quickly between emotions, a moment of criticism can outweigh hours of praise. It becomes easier to focus on what went wrong rather than what's going right. And for late diagnosed women, there's often an added layer of grief. You might be looking back at years of struggling and wondering to yourself, if I'd known sooner, would this have been easier? And that grief can twist into self-blame, which reinforces the imposter narrative. Before we move on to what can help, I want to pause here. If this feels familiar and you're tired of constantly doubting yourself, even though you're doing so much right, I offer free calls where we can talk about what's going on underneath the surface and whether coaching might be right for you. There's a link in the description of this video to book a call with me. No pressure, just a real conversation. Now let's talk about what can actually help. Track the facts. Imposter syndrome thrives on vague feelings. So meet it with data. Keep a running list of wins and successes, big or small. Positive feedback. Things that you did even when they were hard, and then read them when doubt creeps in. This isn't about bragging, it's about helping your brain remember what it tends to forget. Separate performance from preparation. Many ADHDers work best under pressure. That last minute sprint might be your superpower, but because you waited until the night before, it feels like you didn't earn the win. Just because it wasn't the ideal process, it doesn't mean the result isn't valid. Redefine competence. Imposter syndrome often hinges on perfection. We think if I were really competent, I wouldn't be struggling. But competence includes adapting when things go wrong, asking for help, figuring things out on the fly. That's real capability, not flawlessness. Talk back to the story. When the voice in your head says they're going to find out I don't belong, try replying with, I'm learning to believe that I do. Or it's normal to feel doubt, but that doesn't mean it's true. You don't have to eliminate the voice, just interrupt it. Get witness. Sometimes the only way to shift imposter syndrome is to be seen clearly by someone else. Someone who knows that you're managing behind the scenes and still reflects your strengths back to you. That could be a coach, a therapist, or a trusted friend who gets it. Not the highlight reel, the whole picture. Celebrate progress, not just outcome. ADHD brains love novelty, so when something's done, we're already on to the next thing. But that means we skip the the part where we internalize success. Build in a moment of celebration, that you started when it felt hard, that you kept going even when you were tired, that you showed up, because those moments matter and they build the muscle of self-trust. Name your internalized scripts. What messages did you absorb growing up about success, effort, or ability? Whose voices are you carrying? Start noticing the patterns, the "I should already know this," or "I'm not as good as they think." When those scripts show up, say, "That's the old story. I'm writing a new one." Use visual cues like post sticky notes or phone reminders, or phrases like "progress over perfection," or "I belong in this room," or "messy doesn't mean incapable," because these cues retain your brain to associate success with presence, not perfection. Connect with others who get it. Imposter syndrome thrives in isolation. Join ADHD spaces where people talk openly about the behind the scenes struggles, because hearing "me too" can be really healing. It reminds you that you're not alone and that you're not broken. If you're living with ADHD and constantly feeling like a frog, let me tell you, you are not an imposter. You are someone who has learned to function in a world that hasn't always made space for how your brain works. And your self-doubt is not proof that you're faking it. It's proof that you've been working overtime just to keep up. But you can start building a version of success that includes your brain, one that feels steady, satisfying, and real. And if you are ready for support, I would love to get you there. I'd love to talk to you. There's a link below to book a free consult. We'll unpack what's going on and see if coaching could be the shift that you've been needing, because you don't have to keep proving your worth. You just have to start believing it. Take care. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next one.